move into our program and I introduce our wonderful keynote speaker, I always like to spend a little time talking about the state of work life, talking about flexibility, and for today I want to talk actually about our theme, turning human capital back into human beings. Now this might surprise you, but I actually thought of this theme in 2004. So it was 10 years ago that I came up with this brilliant idea. I was reading Sandra Bureau's book, Leveraging the New Human Capital. And I wrote it down and I thought, leveraging the new human capital, and so this is 2004, it was kind of a newer term. You know, I thought, well that's interesting, that's cool, but really what it did is it gave me the willies. Human capital? Why don't we think about turning human capital back into human beings? And then I had to write it down. I'm going, oh my gosh, that sounds like a book. That's what I'll do. I'm going to write a book. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I can't write a book. That's impossible. But a few years down the road, blogs were invented. And I pulled that title out again. I said, that's it. I could write a blog on turning human capital back into human beings. And again, no, I can't. I don't have a writer inside of me, so I said, no, that's not going to do it. But today, or January, when we're planning the expo, I dusted off this title and I said, finally, I think we have a place for turning human capital back into human beings. I was able to use this wonderful title, and here we are, together, to see if we can actually make this become a reality. Or maybe, just maybe, it is a reality, and we all just forgot. So I thought that it would be interesting to share some human experiences with you, to get us kind of in the right mindset. And since I am in fact a human, I thought I would use myself as an example. So it's a little risky here, but I am inviting you to join me in my life. This is when it all started. 1987, after 2 fairly unsuccessful attempts to participate in the traditional workplace, 3 subsequent firings, it was deemed that I should in fact have my own company. I didn't fit in. So this is me and my partner, Ruth Hovland. This is my first human capital. She was my employee. I mean my human being. She was my human being in the basement of my first home in Burnsville as a result of my first press release. So during the next 10 years, the business grew. I was so lucky. I was doing something that I was so passionate about. But like all of us humans, life happens. This is Bob, my 16-hand thoroughbred. I bought him off the track in 1992. And 3 months later, I was in a coma. And there was an ambulance, there was a helicopter, there was an amazing brain search on Dr. Dicey. There was rehab and a long recovery. So you never know what's going to happen in this life. It takes a turn. And my parents at the time were living in Arizona, and my mother tells the story that when I woke up, I looked at her, and I said, oh no, am I going to die? And she said, no, if you were going to die, your dad would have come. It's a loving feeling. So this is, you know, it's good. I get through it. It was a close call, and I'm grateful every day to wake up on this side. But then, just a year later, our son was diagnosed with leukemia, T-cell ALL adult leukemia. So we participated in a research program. 2.5 years of hospitals, radiation, chemo, sickness, heartbreak. And you know what? I was so grateful that I had a wonderful team who took over my business, my employees, my partners. They stepped in, they took over, they picked up all the slack, and I could take care of my son, who, by the way, will be graduating from Minnesota State University Mankato in the spring. If anyone's looking for IT security interns, so we have, you know, we have some hard times, but all of us, we have our good times. We have, our daughter got married a couple years ago, and this spring, you will not believe the miracle. I know. Who here is a grandparent? Yeah, you've got to get one of these. This is amazing. Yeah, it's just, it's like nothing you ever had. So the scales kind of tip throughout life. from what I need to focus on in, with my home and my family to what I need to focus on in my work. And I tell you what, this happened, and I'm just like, whoop, home, I'm surprised I showed up today. So life goes on, and things change, and we find ourselves facing new challenges. And this is my 90-year-old mother, who is not necessarily a new challenge, but a challenge nonetheless. I was in Walgreens a few weeks ago, and I was, doing whatever, I'm in the aisle, and I see this woman, and she's doing this staring, she's kind of like this, and she's pacing and she's staring, and it's that thing where you go and you look at the shelf and you know it's there, but you can't see it. And she was so frustrated. I said, are you looking for something? She goes, I'm looking for the damn medium Depends. Well, I'm calm, I can help. So I look down and I find him, and I reach down and I grab him to hand him to her, and I turn and there's nobody there. That frustrated, angry woman in the aisle is me. So why do I tell you all this? My personal story. Because I am not so very different than anyone in this room. We all have amazing, crazy, wonderful stories. There's a great quote from Alice in Wonderland, and it says, life is full of a number of things. I love that. But as employers, I think that we sometimes forget that work is just one. That is just one thing. So if I apply some statistics to this room right now, this is what it might look like. This morning, there's probably 60 people in this room who are caring for aging relatives. There's probably 100 attendees who are on medication, 15 who are battling depression. There's probably 3 people here who have a child on the autism spectrum. There's going to be 4 people in the room planning a wedding this year. 12 who will attend a funeral. 6 will be hospitalized. 80 are going to go someplace warm this spring. And 100% of us are going to be sick of winter in 5 months. But my mission today is to remind us all that we, each and every one of us, is having a human experience. And as employers, it's so important to remember and remind our leaders that it's not about them. It's about us, the human beings, right? So this is the 4th year of the Expo, and for the 4th time, I just wanted to speak a little bit about the recession. In the beginning, I talked about how awful it was. Last year, I talked about how slow the recovery was. And this year, I just want to talk about the hangover. The recession hangover. Raise your hand if you were asked to do more with less during the recession. Do more with less. Yeah, raise. She got 2 hands up. She was asked to do more with nothing. Well, the common organizational reactions were, we're going to freeze filling those vacancies. We're going to reorganize, and that's going to fix everything. Raise your hand if you had reorgs. Last 5 years, a reorganization. God, that's a popular thing. Postponing plans to expand the workforce. We are doing wage freezes, no pay increases. Either way, whatever your recession du jour was, I would like to know if the do more with less has been retracted. Have your leaders come out of their offices and says, guess what? We can now do more with more. I'm going to give you all more. Have they rolled it back? Anybody? Nobody? You got, yay, see, this is Turk, they're awesome. Well, according to data from the University of Florida, this is from last year, so it's fresh. 44% of surveyed employees say they still must work harder as a result of the recession in their organization. 49% say they must do more with less due to the recession. 34% indicate that management still cuts them less slack. It's tougher when compared to pre-recession levels. 30% said their job security remains lower than pre-recession levels. 46% indicate management is stingier than before the recession. Is this an experience that you can relate to? So it's time to take the hangover cure. And this is done by getting better, by extending trust, by increasing innovation, and becoming more flexible, and building a culture of belonging, because as human beings, that's all we want. We just want to belong. And the first step that I think, personal opinion, in this process is to use 3 words that we so rarely use. And especially if we're in a leadership position, we don't use these words, and those words are I don't. No. Because you know what? When we admit uncertainty to ourselves and others, we open the door for innovation and revelation. I think being unsure is one of the most relatable human experiences that we have. Have you ever been on the street and confused or lost and you turn to someone and says, "Can you help me?" And they say, "Heck no, I'm not going to help you." No, everyone wants to help. All we do, we just need to ask for it. And you know, it immediately neutralizes the situation. It opens the door for anyone in your family, anyone in your organization, anyone in your life to come in and offer up a solution. So there's risks, of course. In getting better, you've got to be willing to make mistakes. You cannot be afraid to fail. You cannot focus on looking good, right? We have to realize that mistakes are the feedback that we need to move forward in our lives. Thomas Edison said, "I did not fail 10,000 times. I successfully eliminated 10,000 materials and combinations that didn't work." And that's how we roll. I think, too, when I talk about doing better, not just focusing on your jobs or your organizations, but yourselves and your families to move from survive to thrive. I challenge you all to take that stance. And so my wish for our time together today as human beings, I hope that we laugh, I hope that we share, and I hope, above all, that we learn from each other.